Total Markup. My name is the Geek King, the Cash Brew. And of course, I am here with my partner in crime, the HBK to my Triple H, which tells you all about the strong connection that we have and also the likeliness of someone to kick the other one in the face. It is Steve Jones 313, Boss Caulfield. Hello!
Oh, hi, I'm here. I'm alive. What? I can't believe it.
Me neither. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Yep.
And we are here with a special themed episode of TMO. What are we doing, Geek?
Well, of course, it is Total Markouts, and our change of format has been that we do specials. You know, we don't do the same old shit every time. So, you know, because otherwise it just ends with me saying Cena won, and that's no longer funny. So I have to change that up to like Roman wins. I don't know. So instead, what we're doing today is a title belt special, and to give you a little bit of information on that, it's very, very much something that we do when we're sitting around the table having a cup of tea, or in my case, a beer, and he has a Pepsi Max Cherry. Hashtag not sponsored.
Hashtag why the fuck not.
And of course, all that is just us sitting there going, yo, what's your favourite belt, man? Or what do you feel of this belt? Or this era? Or stuff like that. So we're going to break it down real simple this week, this month. And we're going to do a title belt special. Now, on that title belt special, now I apologise, you may hear some noise in the background that is general housekeeping because, well, I live with people and, and everybody needs to clean the house.
Pretty much.
Of course, that is... the title belts are going to be simple. We chose a group of companies and we went, right, let's rank the top 10 belts for divisions. So we have the women's divisions, the tag team divisions, what we're calling the mid-card division. In some cases, it might be upper mid or whatever, but it's the mid-card titles. And then the World Championship. Now, the World Championships are going to be every World Championship that is currently recognized by the Pro Wrestling Illustrated rankings, with the addition of NXT because we like NXT.
Yeah, but it doesn't include things like the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship or the NXT UK Championship.
Exactly. So with that being said, boss, I believe we'll start with the Women's Championship.
Yeah, sure thing. We can certainly do that. I'll pop my list up here.
There's to me, there's about 9 companies. I know that much. That we chose, and I didn't decide, and I chose not to separate them. Basically, I ranked the company's belts as a whole in my version of it. I don't know if, boss, you've done it differently.
I've basically this is because I'm a massive fucking nerd.
You're a belt geek.
Yeah, but not only am I a belt geek, I'm a math geek. What I did was I basically listed every single championship that was up for contention in these lists. And I paired them off against each other until every belt at some point had been compared to every other belt in the list. And then I used algorithmic trickery to determine what my top 10s are. So for me, it's not about company. It is about belt. It is about looking at the belt. So
do you want to know how I did
that? With geekitude.
A little bit, yeah. I looked at the belts and went, that probably is my 5th favourite one of all of them. That went 5th.
Well, that's the difference between you. You're more of a vibe kind of. Yeah, well, we'll go with what works. And I'm like, no, I have an algorithm in my head. I can work this out. You know, it's two very different things. You know, two very different approaches. So we'll see what happens with these lists.
All right. So in that case, I have 9, and Boss is going to have 10 because
I have 10. Yes.
So Boss, obviously, I have no one at number 10. Who do you have at 10?
My number 10 is the CMLL World Women's Championship.
Well, that's also bottom of my rank as well.
Oh, there you go.
You may know it was a theme with me and CMML. It's the oldest wrestling company in the world, and you can tell. But yeah, I went to CML from like the bottom of my list. It's, to me, it's not a nasty looking belt. It's just nothing special.
No, not at all. I agree with you on that. Yeah, that's pretty much how I felt about it. It just wasn't anything of, obviously it's not the bottom of my list. It's the bottom of my list, but it doesn't include all the belts that I looked at.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, for those who are interested, I should have probably brought this up before we started ranking, but we are including the WWE Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships, the NXT Women's Championship, well, they're all Women's Championships, AEW Impact, their knockouts, the ROH Women of Honor Championship, because they cancelled their World Women's Championship tournament due to COVID, and have announced that it will be taking place in summer of 2021 for their new tournament. So we had to use the only belt they had designed they had available. The Stardom World of Stardom and Goddess of Stardom, the NWA World Women's, and that included either version that you wanted to. So if you wanted to look at the special custom made one that Sienna had, or if you wanted to just, I say Sienna, AK-47, as in K, or if you want to look at the one that Thunder Rosa and Serena Deep currently hold, the CML World Women's Shimmer, which is their Shimmer and the Heart of Shimmer Championship. But yeah, for me, there was nothing bad about it. Like I said, it wasn't anything special. When I looked at the other ones, I thought, well, there's a bit more work on it to them.
Yeah. The interesting thing about, because you mentioned the Stardom ones and stuff like that. The only Goddess ones I could find were the tag team ones, the Goddesses. I couldn't find a Goddess
I may have,
championship.
To be honest with you, when I looked at the rankings, I may have misunderstood that as a tag team one. I did, when I searched for it myself to look at it, I did see it as headlines for it, and with one belt shown, so I probably just got misunderstood. I'm not a Stardom follower, to be honest with you.
Neither am I.
I know that it's basically NXT for Japan, like New Japan, but it's like women's only, so it's kind of.
But at the same time, it's a women's championship, so well included for the purposes of this particular thing. So your number 9 was the CMLL World Women's Championship. So my number 9, to bring us back on track here, is the Impact Knockouts Championship.
Wow, really? That low?
I am not a fan of it. It's just... It's not... Obviously, it's not the worst one, as rankings go. Generally not. And you could argue that there are similarities to championships which I've ranked higher. But again, part of it is kind of like feeling. It's like sometimes you could look at 2 belts which are predominantly the same, but one has just a different kind of feel. And just in comparison to all the other belts that are on this list, that one just had, do I think it's better than kind of like the original Women's TNA Championship? Yeah, I do. The old white leather with the crown thing.
Original knockout,
But again, what I also have is a bias because I'm not a huge fan of certain belts when they're like, and those belts are
what you perceive as being a squashed middle, like the centerpiece.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, some a weird dude. But yeah, that's my. But what is your number 8?
My number 8 is actually the NWA Women's Championship, and it's the current one that Serena Deep and is holding. I believe she's still the winner. And Thunder Rosa obviously held it beforehand, and we saw that on both NWA Power as well as every so often AEW. And it's, to me, it's just because it's like they went, I want a world championship, but I want it to look like a women's world championship, and they went too much to I want it to look like a women's championship. Like, for me personally, I like when they don't differentiate from, like, you're like, oh, that's a nice belt. It's just a nice belt. It's not like, oh, that's a nice belt for a woman.
It's almost like a Divas Championship situation. Just not as bad as the Divas Championship.
No. I mean, that's in my top 10 free for all, which we'll get to later on. But like,
fair enough.
All right, boss. What's your number 8, mate?
The Stardom World of Stardom Championship.
Right.
Just, I mean, I don't know. Just, I like its uniqueness. I like it kind of shades of like the original NXT Championship in the sense that it's not just a circle or an oval or a square, whatever. It's an actual like star thing. It's like, okay, it's definitely unique. It fits the mold of the company. So on the one hand, on an artistic, intellectual, to sound as pretentious as possible, because I always want to give you haters a reason.
We're talking about wrestling belts, so let's get pretentious.
It's like it's fantastic because it sets itself apart. It represents the company. It's unique. And so it's a really good thing. And for the design that it is, being a star and stuff like that, they make it work. but I just don't like it in comparison to other championships that are higher on the list.
That's not a bad thing. So you say it's the same thing we say about the CMLL. It's not that it's a terrible belt. It's just we don't rank it as much as the others.
Yeah, none of these belts on this list I would consider terrible.
Yeah, it's one of the nicer lists.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We'll get to that. So I'm just going to say, by the way, because it's one you've mentioned already, my number 7 is the NWA World Women's Championship. And I actually put both the custom and the current kind of on the same level because I saw the custom one and I was like, oh, okay. And then I realized kind of last minute, oh, shit, yeah, that's not the one. So I looked at them both. And it was like, you know what? Fucking
Well, I've done that with all the belts, to be fair. All for me, I just put as companies. So if they have an overall feel for the company belt, if they have more than one woman's title, you know. My number 7. Number 7, you know, it's probably going to get me a little bit of hate here.
Okay.
Because it's elite. My number 7 belt is the All Elite Championship women's belt. It's too small. It is trying to...
I'll save you. It's not even on my list.
Wow.
AEW does not feature on my women's list. Fuck it. It is a terrible belt. It is shit.
It's too small, it's too sparkly, and you can't read anything that's on it.
It's terrible. It's a piece of shit. It's worse than coin you would get at Blackpool Pier when you put your coin in, squishes it all about, and produces this weird fucking oval thing. Fuck you, AEW, at that fucking women's championship. Give them an actual belt.
Yeah, I remember them when they released it, like a big thing. I thought then as well, I don't like that. It's just got worse as it goes. And I understand you've done a smaller belt because initially Kenny Omega was booking the women's divisions. At least that's what I heard. So that's why we had nothing but Joshi wrestlers. Like, we had nothing but Japanese women, you know, predominantly in the division, even though you had stars like Britt Baker and you had Ali and you had all the rest. And it was like, no, what we're going to do is we're going to push Rio, and you're like, okay. And then you push Shida, and I like Shida much more than I like Rio. Shida has crossover for me. That's what I feel about that one. And when it comes to... But then you had Nyla Rose, obviously, as well in the between. And when Nyla held it, it looked like it was just a belt. Like something you'd put around your jeans. And it was because they didn't think about the bigger champions they could have.
I just think it's... I mean, it's one of those things where looks can be deceptive. It could have been that they put a huge amount of thought into it, and it looks like they didn't. You know, irrespective of how much thought they put into it, it looks like they just went, "Oh, it's just a fucking woman's title. Who gives a shit?"
Yeah, and I think the problem is that they put maybe too much thought into it.
Yeah, which is very possible, because it's like, you know, and I know what people are going to say. Oh, do you want a belt that's as big as the sun? Is that what we want? It's like, as you know, there's a bar, you know, to fucking like how big should a belt be? And you're right, you've got to think about your more plus sizes and stuff like that. You know, otherwise, are we trying to make everyone look like they're carrying, you know, a belt that everyone basically looks like Andre the Giant when they're holding that fucking belt. It's ridiculous.
It looked like it was made for Rio, and that was about it. I will say this as well. I want to point out now, Boss is lagging sometimes, and it's speeding up and catching up. I understand it can be frustrating to watch. It can be. I understand it can be. However, it's an issue that we can't resolve. It's either down to drivers on his side or just the fact that we're having a spotty connection. Now, we're still in a COVID world. Me and Boss are both vaccinated. However, and fully vaccinated. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that we can go sit in the same room and record a show like we would preferably want to do. Like, there are still restrictions in place.
The future, the future will be bright. The future will be bright when we work this shit out.
Currently there are restrictions in place. There are protocols that are in place that we are still following because, quite frankly, if we don't, then our roadmap out of lockdown in June 21st, 2021 will not happen. And we want to be every part of the helper of making sure that happens. And so that's why we're at the situation at the moment.
You should be able to hear us, though.
Yeah,
but you should be able to hear us.
If anything, TMO has always been an audio podcast. Just with cameras, apparently.
So basically, everything will be fine. Don't worry. Fuck AEW Women's title because it needs to be a better design.
And Boss, you're number 7 with that remark.
Well, no. So my number 7 was the AEW World Women's Championship.
So you're number 6 then.
My number 6 is the WWE Raw Women's Championship.
So you separated the two.
I have separated the two.
Interesting.
So here's the thing, because some people say, well, the color's different. So fucking what? It's like, yeah, but that can actually have a major impact on how a title looks. Like it's like the Universal Championship and the WWE Championship are the same belt with a different leather, but apparently one looks phenomenally better than the other. And it's like, yeah, because color has an impact on how you perceive a belt.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Raw Women's Championship. I like the WWE Championship in general. It does pretty much like the Stardom belt does. You know, it's unique to the company in the sense that it you know which company it is, and by looking at it, you can go, oh, that's women's champion.
You're not going to mistake. You're not going to mistake what company it is, and you're probably going to have a reasonable guess on what it represents.
Exactly, and because you got the white strap, which is like, okay, that's probably going to be a women's championship, and then you got the red background. It's like, okay, so a women's championship, and it's a nice looking belt, and a lot of people shit on the WWE designs at the moment because and it's like, yeah, but
that doesn't mean it's bad. I'm sorry.
Doesn't that happen in other places as well? Like, didn't the UFC use the same fucking belt for pretty much everyone?
The UFC belts have become cookie cutter, apart from the BMF one, which I don't even know what division, how that works in division-wise or anything else, so I'm not going to get into it. But I know that basically every UFC title is the same design, it's just made to fit the competitors of that division. Yeah. Like, the featherweight isn't going to be the same size and weight as the fucking the heavyweight division, because the fuckers won't be able to carry it.
Yeah. But I actually like the design. I do like the kind of the large W's and the general shape of the belt as well. I think it sits well around a waist or on a shoulder.
Yeah.
And you could argue that it's hardly creative, and I'll agree with you. You're right, but there's a different. But at least if you were to compare that to fucking AEW's Women's Championship, it's like, oh, that's a championship belt. That's a nice belt buckle you've got there. I want AEW to step up their game with that particular title belt. It's not an AEW hate prom. I just want them to do better with that particular belt, because it's ridiculous. At least with this one, I can look at it and go, oh, you're the women's Raw champion.
It looks like it looks like a world championship.
Yeah.
It looks like how you perceive a belt to look. My 100%. Number 6 is the Impact Women's World Championship, the Knockouts belt.
Okay.
And it's simply for me because of what I said before. It doesn't differentiate. Like, when you look at it, you go, "That's a World Championship. That's a belt for someone." And then you look at it and go, "Oh, wait a minute, that's a Knockouts World Championship. That's cool." Like, because it just looks like something you would see any other division having. It's what they made it for. They made it specifically for the. That's the first time I've ever said that word right. They made it right for the knockouts, and I was like, that's cool. And especially when you've seen, I think it's one of those belts as well. The reason it's 6 is because as a design alone, it's cool, it's good, it's it fits what it needs to fit. But it's one of those belts that if we were doing this, how they look on champions, it looks a million times better on champions.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Deonna Purrazzo, or how would you pronounce that name? See, I said one thing right, can't say another thing there.
I think it's Deonna Purrazzo.
There you go. Whether it's Jessica Havoc or just Havoc, I think she's known as in Impact, or whether it's Taya Valkyrie, the recently debuted Frankie Monet on NXT. It looks, even Rosemary, it looks like a belt, and it looks better, and you're like, that looks really good. But
one thing I'll say about that belt is that you can make it look 1,000 times better or 1,000 times worse based on how you take a picture of it.
Yes, you need good lighting for it, or just shine it up a little bit. All of the Impact belts I found are a bit grubby. Like,
they're a bit post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, a bit grubby. Just a little cleaning every now and again, guys. Come on. I know it's Impact, but come on. But yeah, like that's my number 6, and it's just because I think it's one of those belts by itself looks cool, and it's nice that you can't tell it's a woman's belt till you look at it. But also looks a million times better on an actual wrestler. Whereas that's why AEW 7 for me. It's because it's just doesn't look good on a wrestler.
Yeah.
Number 5, boss.
The SmackDown Women's Championship.
So 6-5. That's fair enough. Is that purely because you're more of a blue man?
Exactly that. I am more of a blue man. For me,
don't know if anyone's ever noticed that. All of Boss's gimmicks on the MIA is fucking blue.
No, the blue color, the blue LED strips on my TV. The blue top. Just I would say I have a rather neutral opinion of blue. If neutral is entirely fucking biased. Yeah. And yeah, same thing as before. Just I like blue better than red. End of.
Fair play. Number 5 for me, Stardom.
Interesting. Okay, so what are your thoughts on the Stardom belt then?
I liked the uniqueness of it. I really did like the fact that the star, and they worked the stardom into the star and made it look unique, and that was it to me. It looked. I was like, that's a really different design, but for me personally, it worked. I was like, yeah, that works. I like the color, the different color strap. I think it was purple, which if anyone knows King knows he likes purple.
He does.
And for me, it was like I was sitting there going, yeah, that looks really cool. And then I had a look at it on some champions. The most recent one, I believe, being Bea Priestley. And I thought, yeah, that works as a championship belt as well. Like, it looks good on the talent.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I didn't think it was spectacular, which is why it's at number 5. I think I pretty much put it at 5 straight away because I know there's ones I prefer. I know there's ones I don't. So to me, it was like, yeah, that's a really cool belt, but it's not gonna knock me for 6 sort of thing, Or it's not something I'm not gonna be sitting there going, oof, it'll be hard to beat that one.
Fair enough.
So what's your middle belt, boss? What's number 5?
No, we did my number 5. We're my number 4 now.
Number 4. I'll get there eventually, guys. I promise you.
Yep. Number 4, the Women of Honor Championship.
Same.
The Women of Honor Championship is a beautiful belt. It is, you know what it is. You look at it, you see it. It's got a beautiful blend between like the coloring of the etching, the engraving, and also on the background of the plate coloring itself.
Yeah.
The middle plate design is a nice shape. The side plates are also a good shape. Again, fits very nicely over the shoulder, around the waist. And it is a women's championship without being insultingly so. Like,
which
it's not
for Ring
a
of Honor
Divas championship.
Is something you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Ring of Honor are going to make a title belt that's going to suit that division. I mean, that's ultimately you'll find me saying this a lot during the list, but kind of what Ring of Honor have done really well, with the exception of one division. But in general, I'm the same, because number 4 is Ring of Honor for me as well, with the Women of Honor belt. I'm very much looking forward to, because once again, it's a kind of a spoiler for the rest of the show. I am a fan of Ring of Honor's championship designs, and I am looking forward to what they come up with for the new World Women's Championship, because there's been 0 pictures of that released. They didn't, because they were waiting for the tournament, obviously, to reveal the belt. And it's very interesting to me to see how that will come out. But the Women of Honor's belt, I think it fit the mold of what they were doing, because a lot of the wrestlers that worked for them that were female didn't have name power, and certainly weren't divas at the time they brought the belt into properly brought the belt into it. And then, they brought some outside veterans. They brought in Tenille Dashwood, of course, at one point. And you had a real strong vibe going. Not sure how it works at the moment, because I'm a bit behind on that side of Ring of Honor. I'm up to date on a lot of the other stuff, but just the women's division, I think it's in flux with the tournament being in flux, But yeah, all right, then, boss, number 3.
The Heart of Shimmer Championship.
Yeah. Fucking
the
nice.
Heart of Shimmer the Heart of Shimmer Championship is just a very, very nice belt. A very nice one.
And you are not going to mistake it for any other company.
No. And it is designed like a world title.
Yes.
Not a women's world title, not a men's world title, just a world title.
I mean, it's number 3 for me as well, boss. The Shimmer belts, both of them, the World and the the Heart and the Shimmer belt. Shimmer one's a little, obviously it's the first belt, but it's not as, maybe not as nice a belt, but
yeah. For me, just to kind of like spoil it a bit, the Shimmer belt is actually my number 2, but those two swap back and forth.
Yeah.
And the reason that they kind of do is because they both have a very similar design, and sometimes I was looking at it going, I love the Heart championship at the top there, and then sometimes I look at the Shimmer and just going, I just love how it's just Shimmer and whole thing. So those two could swap. So my second and third are basically Shimmer. Just fucking nice work. Amazing work by whoever designed those belts.
Yeah, and more importantly, the idea of the Heart of Shimmer and the Shimmer belt, and you said it yourself, it's just like, say, a world championship, not a woman's title. Which makes sense for what Shimmer is. Shimmer is a woman's only place to wrestle. It is, and it was one of the first ones I ever heard of, particularly outside of Japan. You got Pro Wrestling Eve now in the UK, which I'm glad to hear that they're returning in June, July time out of the pandemic and doing their first show, which is their biggest show of the year anyway, Queendom. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But the Shimmer belts to me are just one of those ones you're like, fuck me, that's a world champion. Like that's a company representing themselves and the superstar or the wrestler, or whatever you want to call them.
Yes.
When they hold that, it is one of those things where you're like, I mean, the picture that kept coming up when I was looking for it was Mercedes Martinez. I mean, she's probably the most not well known, because you had other champions as well. Mia Yim worked there. I mean, fucking anyone who's not been on the WWE roster from the time NXT became NXT pretty much worked in Shimmer if they were in the women's division. Like, just how it worked. It wasn't a feeder; it just happened to go that way. But to me, they were just like, you're like, yeah, that's it. And Mercedes Martinez holding the the main Shimmer championship. And I was like, that's a fucking deadly woman right there and she's going to do what she can to hold on to that belt.
Yeah.
All right. So number 2, you already said was the actual Shimmer World Championship, but they can swap over at any point. But number 2 for me, the WWE ones.
All right.
For the exact reasons that you said before. You can look at that belt and instantly know, or at least have a very good guess on what company they are, what division it is, and what brand they represent. And on top of that as well, for me, is the look when they wear it.
Yes.
Not undersized, it's not oversized, unless it's Alexa Bliss or Nia Jax. Respectively. But, it is one of those things that happens, Big Show never very rarely wore the belt around his waist. But yeah, I mean, that's what it is. For me, WWE Raw and SmackDown, number 2 championship belts. And it is because when they look at Becky Lynch, how she wore it. Look at Ronda Rousey, Charlotte, Carmella. It's never looked out of place.
I agree 100%.
Whereas sometimes in the past, you could say the women's and the Divas division, when the Evo belts did look that way. Because when you have someone who's like a Natty or a Beth Phoenix holding a belt that's a butterfly called the Divas division, you're like, yeah, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
Whereas, a Nikki Bella, you're like, okay, yeah, sure. That makes sense. Like, the thing for me was AJ Holt wearing it, and it always looked out of place because it was oversized on AJ, and you didn't really class her ever as a diva.
No, I agree with you on that.
All right. I'm guessing here that we've both got the same number 1.
I imagine we do. My number 1 is the NXT Women's Championship.
Same, yeah. I mean, it's just it's for the exact reasons I just said about Gary. But the NXT is unique because it's not too. You've got some good stuff going on there as well. So for me, the NXT World Championship, like Women's World Championship in particular, it's like and it looks very similar to the NXT World Championship. It's like they went, right, we're going to put these on the level pegging. And if you look at the way they've done the division and branded division, very much so.
Yeah. 100% agree. Like, I love everything about this championship. I love the shape. I love the plate designs. I love the side plates. I love how it looks over the shoulder, around the waist. I love how it compares to the other championships of that particular division. And when I hold it against every other women's championship on this list and ones that didn't even make the list, for me there was just no comparison. It was just every single time I was like, yes, this championship stands up against all of them. And again, we've said a lot of these things already, but that's what happens as you go up the lists. You start repeating a lot of the compliments. You know, it's non-gender specific. It's not, it's not butterflies and roses and shit like that. It's not like the old NXT Championship when it was like the pinkish, which is still not a bad. It's certainly better than a Divas Championship.
Pink and purple with a black strap, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was like, but this particular championship, it's a championship.
Yeah.
It is a
you've got to think about the
championship.
previous design they had. The Divas division was the only one they had in WWE. They got rid of the women's championship, and it was just the Divas division. And then on top of that as well, so they had a mirror, didn't they? Basically, what was happening, but NXT was, and to me, NXT, if Shimmer is the foundation of this women's revolution of women can be real wrestlers in America, NXT is the one that made that revolution be televised. Sorry, where because me and you watched NXT, at least this incarnation of NXT, from the beginning.
Yeah. Yes.
And we were hooked from the beginning on the women's division because the talent seemed to be flowing through there.
The most fun I've had at a live show was the NXT live show.
Yes, same for me.
I've been to a few WWE ones. I even got to meet Melina and Gail Kim. Gail Kim, Heart for Life. But that NXT live show, man, was the greatest live event I have ever been to. In any capacity, better than the Meatloaf concert I went to, better than because I've only ever been to one musical gig.
It's better than the Meatloaf concert I went to, mate.
Yeah, better than any live show I've seen in any genre of any kind. That NXT show blew it all out the water.
Yeah, I mean,
fantastic.
From the beginning as well. We met Dana Brooke, who was a sweetheart.
Yes.
And then we met Samoa Joe, who is just the fucking coolest guy ever, who's standing in the middle of Newcastle, not realising that he's wearing a flat cap in the place that flat caps were pretty much invented in.
Yeah.
Sitting there, and he's just like, oh man, you're cool. And he's just so cool. You're like, I turned around and was like, he told us off for bullying the mystery producer, or who some people are assuming is the mystery producer, which I wasn't doing.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Much.
I wasn't at all. You just get me in trouble.
Yeah, I do. I'm a bad influence. But at the same time, was just when you turn around, I've followed your career for years, and you're just a phenomenal wrestler. He just was like, cool, man, cheers. And I was like, that is such the most laid back you could ever be of someone saying that. Like, other people I've met Cody before he was Cody. I met Cody when he was debuting his tag team partner for Night of Champions, Cody Rhodes. That's when I met him. And it was like, every person must have asked him, who's your tag team partner going to be? Who's your tag team partner? And obviously it was DiBiase Jr. And like...
Yeah, I just put out, it was the other way around.
Yeah, but whatever, okay?
Yeah.
But everyone
before the haters.
No, but everyone must have asked him questions about this shit, right? Because they were teasing. It must have been when they were teasing the third one. And it was originally it was Sim Snooker and then Manu, or it might be the way around. But they brought Alpha Junior in and gave him a really shitty name, and he never got over because he was too green. They then changed Juice. Sorry, Juice. Oh no, it was Domino. It was one of the two, right? Because Cliff Cottington is the other one. And they changed him to be Sim Snooker rather than letting him call himself Jimmy Snooker Jr., which he fucking is.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, yeah, these two are working legacy. Like, yeah, these two do not have any of the charisma of Cody or Ted DiBiase Jr., and that's saying a lot when they had just debuted on TV. But I remember meeting him and just going, cool, you're cool, man. Good luck in your future. And he was like, if I'd known what was going to happen now, I probably wouldn't be that nice. But and that's just my personal views on his company. But like just the fact that he was like, yeah, cheers, man, cheers. I remember our former co-host on this show, Eric Van Jersey, turned around and went. He goes, yeah, thanks. And Cody went, no problem, man. Thanks for staying. And he went, no. And his response was, the pleasure's all yours. And I was like, who the fuck do you think you are? Like,
James, you're such a cunt.
Never mind the fact that I couldn't speak because the person next to Cody was Kelly Kelly.
Oh God!
And
well,
that was
you know.
that was a nice one. Yeah, but I've met like Regal as well, and Regal and Joe must be the two coolest guys I've met in the wrestling business.
Yeah, Regal I've never met, but I would love to.
Regal was just so much fun because he was just like, we were maybe the first 10 in the into the old Granger games in the Metro Center, which is where they used to do the signings. And honestly, I remember I showed Regal his book, and he turned around and went, I didn't know anyone bought this. And then like and then I was like, it's one of the best ones I've read. And he went, she mustn't have read much. Like, and then with Layla, because he was being managed by Layla at the time, she was next to him and she was doing a sign, and I had a magazine for her to sign. And I remember Regal made a point of like showing her the book. Look,
yeah,
look what this young man's got. And she went, I never realised you wrote a book. He goes, neither did I. Like, he was just witty the whole time. He was charming. He was awesome. And Joe was on the same as that. But yeah, NXT Live. I think about it. I think that was almost prime NXT because you had Balor, you had Joe, you had Corbin, you had the return of Sami Zayn on that night. Was his first match back when we went to watch him. Rhino, you had Murphy and Blake with Bliss, the War Villains. Enzo, before we weren't allowed to call Enzo anything, with Big Cass and Carmella, Asuka. It was a really good night. It still holds up. I've been to TV tapings, and I've seen Undertaker and the Brothers of Destruction. I've seen DX, and yeah, that was one of the most fun nights I've had at a wrestling show. And more importantly, boss, imagine what would happen if they actually opened the bar when we first went into the arena. How much more fun would I have?
So, NXT Women's Championship, number 1 on our lists.
It is. So let's jump up to the tag teams division, which I think Boss has a few things to say about this. Before we get into that, though, I'm just going to run down once again because there are some changes here of the tag team championships that we were including. So for WWE, we had both the Raw, SmackDown, and the Women's. The NXT Championship, AEW Tag Team Championships, the New Japan, IWGP Heavyweight, and Junior Heavyweight. I just realised, I can edit that as I go. As well as the Never 6-Man titles, the Impact World Tag Team and Knockouts titles, the ROH World and 6-Man titles, NWA Tag Team titles, the CML World Trios and World Women's Tag Team titles, the All Japan World Heavyweight and apparently the World Junior Heavyweight, even though we're pretty sure they don't have one, and they call it the All Asian Championship as well. And the MLW, the Major League Wrestling World Titles. Now, there are a lot of belts on there, which is why we said this is a top 10. Not every belt will be included in this, basically, because if we included every belt, it would be like a top 11, 15, 16. That's stupid.
Exactly. So we're not going to go down the all that. It's just going to be the top 10.
Yes.
And this for me was definitely the hardest one to remain positive about. It was like this felt there was a lot of trudging through shit really when it came to this. So yeah, I am not looking forward to going through this list, but I will because I am a professional. I'm not sure I'm a professional at what, but let's see if I can apply it to this.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm a tag team guy, so I've spent more time looking at these tag belts and everything else. And I mean, I'm a tag team guy to a point that I have included a tag team championship in my free-for-all, which was all of history, your top 10 favorite designs, which is our last one we're going to go to today. So that will show you how much of a tag team guy I am. This was still hard because the tag division is so not looked on with favoritism by any company by the looks of it. Although, and it's weird because there was no middle ranking sort of thing. Like, you looked at the belts, it was like either great or shit, in my opinion. Like,
there's oh boy.
That being said, though, number 10, I'll kick it off this time, boss, with the NWA World Tag Team Championship. What I like about them
Didn't make my list.
Yeah, I like about them is that they were a throwback to the old school, but they went too far back in my opinion. The eagle, they got like a bird. I can't tell if it's an eagle or what it's supposed to be on it. But it's like it's not embossed, but it's the other. It's like raised, isn't it? You know, so like
yeah,
it's like, well, that's a little weird to the eyes and that. I mean, they look good on certain teams. I've seen them on the current ones of JR Kratos and Damien Sandow. What's he call himself? Aaron Stevens. Is that right?
yeah.
Aaron Stevens, and they look all right on them. And they look all right on the Rock and Roll Express because you know they probably held them for the first time when they were first the original designs. But some of them, like when they were on. When Bram held them with someone, I can't remember who he held it with now, but it didn't look right. It looked too old. No. It clashed, and to me, that's why it's number 10. Obviously, Boss said there didn't make his list at all. So in that case, then, Boss, what did make you number 10?
The All Japan Pro Wrestling 6-Man Championships.
Not bad. Yeah, I haven't put them on my list actually, but yeah, it's not. It was an alright.
Yeah, though. I mean, essentially, what you're looking at is a bare bones buy off Etsy based upon the NWA's World Heavyweight Championship design. And you know what? As designs go, it's not terrible. It's out of all the belts, it's like the one that I dislike the least enough to make the top 10. I mean, it's a fucking plate with AJPW 6-man tag champions on the front of it. And that's about it. It is a buy off Etsy NWA title, you know, but it serves the purpose.
It's a buy off Etsy NWA title that they've sent you a picture of this great design, and then it's like, oh, and they're like, well, it's Etsy. What did they expect?
Yeah, it's like, again,
the picture they sent me. No, this isn't Wish.
Yeah. Now, if it had been like the WCWA version, it would have been a lot nicer, but it isn't. It's kind of like, when I looked at it, it's as if someone took the NWA World Championship, flattened it, and then wrote with the text tool on top of it in Photoshop. AJW. So, yeah, but you know what? It's functional. Yeah. It's a decent enough size for like any competitor that's holding it. You know, obviously, extreme outliers apply. Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible. It's just not
anything
great.
Special.
If I wouldn't mind holding it. Like, if I was holding the belt, I'd be like, yeah, it's all right, you know, but there are far better titles.
Well, yeah, but that's because you don't have to look at it.
I agree. It's like eating in the Eiffel Tower, so you don't have to see the Eiffel fucking Tower.
This is a cheap,
you know, which
tower,
is what
it is.
Well, it's what somebody did. Somebody hated the Eiffel Tower so much they used to always eat in the Eiffel Tower because the only place in
Paris you can't see it,
yeah. Exactly. You know. Okay, so what's your number 9?
My number 9 was sticking with All Japan, and it's the All Asian Tag Team titles.
Didn't make my list.
Similar reasons to NWA. You know, the classic looking, but similar to the NWA, it doesn't look like they've upgraded them since like the 1980s.
Yeah.
So it kind of clashes with the modern look, you know, on TV, HD, everything else, but also with some of the look of I know it's Japan, so some of the wrestlers have a basic look, but
it
still clashes sometimes. You know, there's still some clashes. So that was pretty similar, and I was literally I went, it's a little nicer than the NWA. Like that was it.
Yeah. So my next one is the WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championships.
Interesting. And I'm guessing because it's SmackDown as blue, it's the only one that made the list.
Correct. Now, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I genuinely, it's certainly the platinum is far better than copper.
Yes.
You know, we could all agree on that. It's not a Giants 2 pence coin, it's a Giants 10 pence coin, which is a lot better. But it is a simplistic design, but in comparison to the ones that are below it, my God, is it an improvement? It's striking. The design is ornate, although you can't really tell because
I remember
simple color.
I remember when we used to talk and we did the original TMO, and you talked when we got you onto the subject of the tag title belts. you could rant for days about the copper look and everything else. And I remember we were sitting there, and me and you were watching the Raw where they debuted them to the New Day.
Yes.
And you went, "Ooh, I like that," and I'm sitting there going, "It's exactly the same design." You went, "No, that silver makes it so much better." And I was like,
and
"You know what? It does.
It goes back.
It does."
It goes back to what I said at the beginning of the podcast. Color has a huge impact on how something can look. If you have the wrong strap color or the wrong plating color, it can ruin a championship.
I agree. The blue and silver works much better.
Yeah, and I like the gladiator helmet design, stuff like that, and but what lets this down for me, in comparison to belt we're going to see, is kind of a lack of boldness. It's very plain Jane. It's very non-identifying. It's very like you have to look. I mean, you could probably guess it's a tag team title by seeing the two helmets, but it's like previous championships were proud. If you look at the Raw tag team titles or the original WWF tag team titles held by LOD, Dudley Boys, Hardy Boys, you what look tag team championships. This one requires a bit more work, and yes, it's not a terrible design. And yes, you could argue maybe some designs coming up kind of break that rule I'm making. But I have arguments for that. Nice belt. Out of all of them, it'd be like, would I like to own a replica of this belt? It's the first one on this list that I would be like, yes, I would like to own a replica of this.
Makes sense.
That's all I gotta say about that.
So my next one is the for number 8 we're on is the IWGP Heavyweight Championships. The junior heavyweight did not make my list.
None of them made my list.
I'm gonna be, obviously I'm a tag team guy, as we've mentioned many a time. I'm gonna be biased towards the heavyweight division because it's the division I'd probably qualify for. Actually, it's not probably about. And this one is one of those ones where, once again, it was better than the All Japan All Asia, and it's better than the NWA tag team. But it is, it's not the best out of the list. Obviously that's why it's number 8. It's not great. But it's one of those ones where I have fond memories of it and can see it on certain people and are going, damn, that looks good. God looks amazing around God's waist, or on the shoulder. Bad Intentions, Machine Gun Carl Anderson and Giant Bernard. Who'd have thought the former A-Train would become a superstar in fucking Japan? Not me. So yeah, I have fond memories of that. Even when it was held by others, of the time, GPH, things like that. But yeah, I'm a big fan of that. And out of the divisions, it looks as if they made an effort with this one, whereas the junior one has similar issues to the women's championship belts, or they made them to fit the people that are going to hold them, and didn't take into consideration that you might have the odd exceptional body type. So when you've got someone like the Young Bucks wearing a junior, it fits them right. It looks decent.
Yeah.
But when you've got Roppongi Vice and it's Rocky Romero, that fits. He's wore it plenty of times. It looks good. And then his partner is Trent Beretta. You're like, Trent's not a junior heavyweight a lot of the time. That's a bit too small. And that's why that didn't make my list and the heavyweight did, because it fits everyone just about who's held them, because you even look at Big LG, Big Luke Gallows, Big Doc. He is a big man, so when he's wearing a belt and the belt looks good, looks like it fits him, instantly you're gonna have me going, that looks better. So that's literally why it's number 8. I have fond memories of it holding on. Your number 8, is it your number 8, boss? It should be.
It's my number 8. Yep. My number 8 is the ROH World Tag Team Championships.
Okay. Any reason?
I mean, just
that's what we're doing for.
I mean, yeah. Okay. I mean, quite simply, you look at the championship. It's got very clearly what it is: World ROH Tag Team Champions. So, yep, clearly you can look at it. Know what it is. By the way, these are arthritis-esque gloves. They have copper stuff in them to help because my wrists are hurting, as are my knuckles. I'm not trying to be an evil Bond villain. But It shows the name of the company. It shows the name of the championship. It's a good size. It's an interesting shape as well.
Yes.
You know, it's not quite circle, not quite oblong. It's like got this, you know, this nice intricacy
Yeah.
to it. A really beautiful kind of engraved pattern as well. Rather than being like a plain Jane kind of design, it's got this kind of like almost you know, vine like
Yes. Yeah.
pattern. So it makes good use of the space that's on it. You've got two side plates on either side. The primary ones, I like to call them, have ROH in them, and then the second ones have the two sides of the globe.
Yeah.
Just again, it's a championship that if I was like, hey, you know, this is your tag team championship, I'd be like, fucking nice. All right, I can
It's
make
a
this work.
almost classic design with a modern twist. They are
Yeah,
good belts.
yeah. That's why I just think good. It's a good design. I like it. And in fairness, ROH's tag team belts have always been for me pretty much on point. Like
Yeah.
not necessarily my favorite, but consistently. Yeah, all right. Good on you.
Yeah, I mean that was when RH did the redesign, because you remember RH did a big reveal of all their belts being changed at once,
Yes.
and I remember that was the one I was like, I don't think that needs changing, but fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna do all of them, let's do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, my number 7 is the Impact Tag Team Champion.
Okay.
And it's just because, you know, you can see straight away its impact and everything else we've said about the designs. And the reason 7 is just, it's probably the least favourite out of the good designs, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And once again, as we said before, if someone, you know, I don't know, took some steel wool to it or something, it might shine up nice as well. Like it's a little post-apocalyptic, a bit grubby, as we said. You know, it's one of those ones that, but once again, it looks good on every competitor they've had it as well. You know, it looks good currently on the is it the Good Brothers who hold them? I think they do.
Didn't they lose it to? Didn't they lose it to either the Varsity Blondes or Finjuice? I think it was Varsity Blondes. They
It might
lost
be.
it to.
No, I think it was Finjuice because
I might be wrong.
yeah.
Let me look this up while you're talking.
Yeah, I mean, it looks good. I mean, either way, it looked good on them. It looked good on the North, as well as multi-seat machine guns and the Rascals. So you know, that's a few various different body types there, and it works on, you know.
Finjuice.
Finjuice are the current champions, and
Yes.
I'm sure it looks good on them because I mean, honestly, Dave Finley can pull anything off, and Juice Robinson is an enigma. He can just look how he wants to look, and you go, yeah, that's cool. Like, even when he's got all that batshitness or the flamboyant side of him, you're like, yeah, it looks cool on Juice, but it looks cool. Like, and I think that's just one of those things when it comes to the to Impact's tag titles. They look good. The one, as you said before, the boss, if someone was to present you with that, I'd go, yeah, I can walk with this. This looks cool.
Yeah, didn't make my list.
Fair play.
For me,
you're a bit more.
We talked about my bias against the squashiness kind of thing. The other thing which has going against it is I remember the older TNA titles.
Yeah,
the older TNA
nice.
tag titles were a thing of beauty, and it's like if we were arguing that those belts, it would be a different top 10, but we're not.
They are very the older ones. I mean, the ones with Beer Money and Machine Guns and Team 3D. They were beautiful belts to be fair.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
So your number 7 then, boss.
My number 7 is the Never 6-Man Championships.
Nice.
The Never 6-Man Championships is a very simple design. You know, it's hardly anything. It's not overly spectacular, but clear what it represents. It's clear what it's about. The championship design itself, you know, you got a beautiful shape for a center plate. One side plate on either side, which clearly tells what it is. Again, being that it's a 6-man championship, it's not something that you want to have be overly ornate, because obviously you need to have it something that can be easily replicated. But it works really, really well for what it is. I found that the big thing was like compared to like other belts that came before it, it kind of struck out at me more. Like with the, I would argue that potentially the ROH tag titles are a nicer design.
Yeah.
But this one struck out at me more.
Makes
And
sense.
that's part of the deal you need with a championship. You need to go like, oh, hang on, that's a and I think it's very nicely balanced
Yes.
as well. So yeah, that's for me. That's why it's above there. Do I think the ROH World Tag Team title is a better belt on its own? Yes, once you actually sit down and look at it.
Yeah, I think
but for me,
the difference is that the ROH World Team titles are ones that you go, oh, what belt has he got there? The never weight, you go,
yeah,
oh, he's got the never open weight. Oh, it must be a 6 man.
yeah,
Like it's
yeah, because like you look at them and go, oh, it jumps out at you, and that's kind of what is informed my decision there. It was like it's more striking, and that's part of the job of a championship. It's to make the person stand out.
Yeah, and I'll be
so
honest
that's
with you here as well. The reason it's not on my list isn't because I hate it and I think it's a terrible design. Because I forgot about it. When I was doing my list, I generally mustn't have looked at the never 6 man. Just went fuck it. Like, so it's just one of those things that's happened,
Yeah, but that's my number 7.
My number 6 is it's actually the WWE SmackDown and Raw.
Okay.
Ties, because to me they're very similar belt. Well, they are the exact same belts, just with a different strap. But to me, red and blue doesn't really make much of a difference when I look at a title belt. If you threw some purple and green in there, maybe I'd change my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the same thing we said about the WWE women's belts.
Yeah.
You can instantly look at it, and once you've realized, you can take a good guess that it's a tag belt, and you can take a very good guess that it represents Raw or SmackDown, as long as you know what the branding looks like on the company.
Yeah.
They've grown on me massively. Both belts have since they were debuted. But ultimately, I think they're just the reason it's number 6, middle of the road. It's because it's a middle of the road belt. They're just, to me, in my opinion, are nicer belts. Not only in other companies, but also in their own company. But yeah, that's my number 6 for yourself, boss.
My number 6 is a bit surprising, probably. It's the CML. It's the CMML World Tag Team Championships.
Interesting. That is surprising to me because I obviously
don't
have it on my list.
Yeah. So people are going to be going, really? You've got the ROH. They got the ROH title there. You got the Never 6. This title? Are you sure? It's like, okay, you're gonna find that there's a certain bias I have to a certain type of belt.
Yeah,
that's part of the problem we have. And this is again a personal top. You'll notice that this is my personal top 10, so I have a certain bias towards certain ships.
No, we all do.
But what I love about this kind of championship is that it's just there's something that catches my attention. Now, obviously, I'm not Spanish, and I'm not native Spanish speaker. Neither do I speak Spanish to any degree of fluidity.
No.
So I see Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre Campeón Mundial Parejas. I'm like, okay. And I was so fucking paranoid that I had the wrong title that I had to look up about 10 different pictures before I was confident that I was picking the right one.
Yeah, Campeón de Parejas is literally means champions of partners.
Yeah.
Or the partner champions.
It's like, but it's like, it looks good. Like, it's one of those things that always looks better when you see it on the persons. Yes. And that's when you're going to be seeing a lot of. And it's like, this is probably the only title on this entire list that my genuine answer is, I don't know, I just like it.
Fair play. Fair play, boss. It is.
But didn't make my top 5.
No. Didn't like it that much.
No.
So start off my top 5 is actually the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship.
Interesting.
I think it's a really good design. It's almost like they took a bit more effort with this than they did knowing that they were bringing in Women's Tag Team Championships, knowing that they were making an effort, that it was a big thing to a lot of people. that they went, right, can we make some a title here that, looks different, stands out, isn't just, going to be a smaller version on a white strap of the Raw and SmackDown ones, which is a lot of criticism they got about the WWE Women's Raw and SmackDown titles. I was like, yeah, that looks, and it just, I like the fact, because what I like about them ones is that they have the side plates where you change it for the champions.
Yeah.
Which is what obviously they do for the Universal and the Raw and SmackDown title and the WWE title. But they don't do that for the Raw and SmackDown tag titles.
Yeah.
And I like that bit of customization, that little extra thing is why it puts it just a bit. And it is just a more, first of all, it stands out. It says tag team in big bold letters across it.
Yeah.
Other than like the actual tag team titles. You can see straight away, you can guess because it's a white strap and that's how they brand the women's division. That's what it is, and like I say, it's just I like the little extra bit of this belt means something. That's why we changed the side plates.
Yeah.
I also like the fact that if they're not an official team, like Asuka and Charlotte, that they won't have, or like Shayna and Nia, even though they pretty much are an official team, they'll just give them one of each champion side plates, and that's I was like, okay, that's cool, that's fun. But yeah, I like them, and I think they're a good design, and they look good as well. They honor champion. They look good. I've yet to say that belt doesn't look good on them with any of the champions. It looks really good on Bliss and it looks amazing on the Iconics, but that could just be Geek's personal preferences.
Yeah.
Your number 5, boss.
The ROH 6-man championships. I generally thought I'd lost my mind when I was looking at this, going, why do I like this belt so much? Why do I like this design so much? And I can't put a finger on it until I realize I'm a geometric guy.
You are.
I'm a math nerd, and one of my biggest things is I love geometry and stuff like that. And I look at certain shapes that I'm drawn to them, and this belt kind of goes to that.
Scratches that itch, doesn't it?
It does. It scratches this, nerd itch that I have, and I look at them, and it's like, and again, it follows the rules. I know which company it is. I know what the title is for. It's something that could be easily replicable because it has to be for 3 fucking people. With the tag team championships, it still has to be replicable, but not as intensely as
you can have a little bit more.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about it being like, oh shit, I fucked that part up. Like.
Yeah, exactly. It's a nice size. It fits well on anybody, in my opinion. It stands out against the other titles of the company, which kind of I think is important because it's a very different kind of title.
Yeah.
In the same way that your hardcore championship should stand out if you're not necessarily a hardcore company. Exactly.
It should stick out for a reason, not just to try and make it different. But
you're not going to confuse the ROH Tag Team Champions with the ROH 6-man Tag Team Champions.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, I get that. There's a difference. And so it scratches an itch for me. It follows all my, unlisted rules. It's just a genuinely nice design. Is it a bit generic? You could definitely argue that. You could definitely argue it's kind of generic, especially if you compare it to the original ROH 6-man championship. But it's a 6-man championship, and that is kind of part of it. And again, when just comparing it against other championships that came before it, just kind of struck out in a better way. If you're wondering, did it stick out more than the CML World Tag Team? Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it definitely felt like future versus past with those two. So that's why it got to number 5 on my list.
Well, it made number 4 on mine. Both ROH titles were tied for me. I couldn't separate them.
Okay.
So number 4 is the ROH tag and 6-man. For everything you've said and more, the great tag belts, the great 6-man belts, you can easily recognize between the two of them. I just couldn't say which one I liked more. And on top of that as well, the 6-man and the tag belts both have fluctuated on who they've been on. You know, they've been on the Briscoes. They've been on, you know, the Briscoes have held both belts with Buddy and six man with Buddy Ray. You know, Men In Enterprises. If the tag team title and a 6-man title, and you've got PCO and Brody King, and they both look good on both members, then you've got a winning combination there for me. This is literally this has come down them ones of why the number 4 is because the 3 I've got above them I just like more, and it's as simple as that. These top 4 here for me, interchangeable. Ask me tomorrow, they're probably a different order.
Well, funnily enough, my number 4 is the Women's Tag Team Championship.
There you go.
There's something I want to. I held back a bit so I could add a little bit more flavor to what you would say, because you put it perfectly. Like I cannot change a thing. But there's one thing that always happens when I look at the Women's Tag Team Championship. I look at that center plate, and I always think of that Elimination Chamber match.
Yes. Yeah.
That design.
It evokes the memory of the first match.
Yeah. And it's something that I remember watching fondly, and you know, I could go back and watch that match all over again.
I did recently.
And so for me, that championship design has an added element to me where it actually takes me back to a memory of a match, which when a belt can do that.
Yeah, when a belt can evoke a memory for you, and we'll probably talk about this on the free-for-all more. But that's at least, or even evoke a memory of a champion, you know? When you think about it. But and as I said, but it's the same for me in the number 4 in the ROH. So we'll go to number 3 since we've talked at length about about all them belts. Number 3 for me is maybe the one that people won't expect, given my previous list. But number 3 for me is the Major League Wrestling, the MLW Tag Team belts.
Yep,
because they are fucking beautiful.
Same.
They're just beautiful.
What a design! What a design!
Honestly, they are just really, really nice. They stick out. You can tell, and I mean, in big bold letters, like unashamedly tag team wrestling, and you're like, that's fucking sign it away.
And
I'm looking forward
perfect
to it.
logo, nice.
I don't know if they've held it already yet, because I'm a little.
Anyone could hold that belt.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to seeing around the Von Erichs, to be honest with you, because they've got style and that, and I mean, I'm a new Major League Wrestling fan. I am, admittedly. I used to watch the odd match now and again. I'm trying to get into more regularly. As you know, there's some really fun things happening there, and I think it's the most slept on company going at the moment. It's just as a design, it looks amazing. On Champions, I had a little Google through the Champions. It stood out. It looked good. It didn't overshadow the champion either, which is a nice feature for a tag team belt. And it's just one of those things that was just. It's just beautiful. And I was just like, that's my top 3 at any day of the week, you know. Possibly top 1 at times, you know.
And honestly, like I'm the same. Like that just there's nothing else to really add other than just how beautiful it is. Like, just it's a stunning championship. I love it so much, and going through this, like, I was already kind of thinking maybe I should be watching MLW, and you know, doing this list is maybe kind of on the same wavelength of like I really should be watching.
I mean, I watched the season finale recently because I'd heard something was going to happen, and I wanted to see it happen. And I'm not going to say spoilers now, but they had a great match on that with Leo Rush versus Myron Reed, I believe the name was, for their middleweight title, and it was just breathtaking because it was just it was like watching the old cruiserweight. It was something new that I hadn't seen in a long time, but felt like I had. Like it was one of those vibes that was just really fun and a great match. And seeing the belts, and I mean, the first time I've seen these belt designs was actually when the New Era Hart Foundation, which was Teddy Hart, Davey Boy Smith Jr. and Flying Brian, Brian Pillman Jr. as well, held them. And I mean, there's 3 very different body types, as we've said many times on this.
Yeah.
And it looked good on all, any one of them. Like, so that it's something you need in a tag title. You need it to look good on the team, not just on one member of the team.
Absolutely, because I think it's Wildcats that do MLW belts.
Right.
I think they have the licensing deal with MLW.
Right.
And it kind of shows because Wildcat belts are generally good.
Yeah.
Again, I love belts.
Yeah.
I'm a big belt nerd, and it's like I hear Wildcats, I go, yeah, okay, here we go.
There's a few people, over the years used to hear different names. My memory is shocking, so I can't remember right now. Over the years, you
Yeah.
heard WWE went with one designer for like 20 years, and you could tell because you knew what you were getting and you knew the quality. Yeah, it's very similar with the Wildcats guys as well. Number two, boss, for me, NXT.
For me, it's the NXT Women's.
See, for me, the problem with the NXT Women's is it is the WWE Women's Tag Title just with NXT on it. That's why it's not number. But
I mean, I'll explain why. Because it's essentially, for all intents and purposes, the same as the NXT Tag Team Championships, just with a white strap. That's the difference.
I thought it was basically the the WWE Women's belt.
No.
So WWE Women's Tag Team Championships, but with NXT down the middle.
Nope. No, it's based upon the NXT Tag Team Championships.
Yeah, Boss just sent me a picture there. Yeah. That's probably what you heard there.
Yes. So
Boss?
Yeah, because that's what.
I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's a final design that they went with. Well, I may be wrong, but it's just.
I'll show you another one of the actual photos of the belts.
Huh. Fair play.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, you're not the only person. To have thought this.
I genuinely thought it was just a woman's. I mean, to be fair as well, I kept up with it and saw it. So I even saw the reveal. I'm like, yeah, it must be just a woman's, but with a different design. I mean, I probably saw it floating around online. That's why.
Yeah. So yeah, you're not the only person to have thought that, and that has come up when I've been looking at the championships.
So essentially,
because I knew
you prefer the white strap, and I prefer the dark strap.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. I think part of the problem with the white strap is, whilst I understand, women's tend to be the white. Okay, that's fine, not a problem. It's not a good contrast against the plate. Whereas the black strap serves as a nice contrast for the center and side plates, and that's really it.
Did you just change your mind when looking at them?
What?
Have you just changed your mind? Because you told me it was the women's tag titles you had on there.
Yeah, the women's tag title is my second, and the NXT Tag Team Championships is my number one.
Oh, right. I didn't hear you say that. Sorry.
Sorry. Oh, yeah. So basically, the NXT champion. The only difference is I prefer the black strap because I think it makes the center and side plates pop more than the white ones. Where the white ones, it's more they kind of fade into each other.
Right.
But again, they are the same plates. Yeah. So it's literally the difference is the strap, but. Looking at just the plate and the belt as whatever color strap you want to give it, just far prefer it to any other tag team championship I've seen. The exception being the MLW, which again I feel is what you said. The top three for you, definitely top three for me, is one of those situations where ask me on any day. And Fridays are MLW days, Wednesdays are NXT days.
Yeah, I mean for me the NXT tag titles. Honestly, I don't think NXT had a bad tag title design ever.
The
previous ones,
their originals were fantastic.
The contrast that them two, the originals had, were great. This one is just a nice design. It is, and straight away you can tell what it is. It stands out to the other belts in the company, which, to be fair, most NXT belts do. However, my number one is, in my opinion, the best and possibly the only great title that All Elite Wrestling have, and it is the tag team titles, the All Elite AEW tag titles. I'm just a fan of the overall design. I think it looks good on the wrestlers as well, whether that be the Young Bucks or whether it be Hangman and Omega or whether it be FTR or anyone like that. I am just I'm just a fan of the overall design, and it was the only one where I actually thought, I reckon that they took some effort, and the people like the Young Bucks may have designed that. You know, like, whereas you look at the other ones who went, did they just go to the designer, and the designer went, sure, yeah, we can do that.
I think this probably would have been number 11 on my list.
Wow.
Just because, for me, it's not necessarily a bad belt, but it's one of those, like, I remember, like, I'm looking at it now,
Yeah.
and it's like, I mean, again, size is good. The shapes are an interesting shape, nice geometric. It's nice and even. It's balanced, but there's just something kind of. I hate to use the word cheap because I don't think that's
definitely
accurate.
Not cheap.
But if flattish kind of.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Flattish, yeah.
Like it it feels like there's something not quite right. And for me, it's not a bad belt by any stretch of the imagination. But I remember just looking at it, and even as I'm looking at it now, I'm just thinking, I don't know, there's some disconnect.
It's quite possible
between it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's literally just a thing of I remember looking at that and looking on a champion, like on the champions, going, really like that. And you know, it's one of those things where for you there's a disconnect and you're like, there's something missing. For me, I'm going, I couldn't tell you why I really like that, other than the fact that I think it just looks good on the champions.
Well, it's like me in the CMLL tag team titles. It's like I generally couldn't tell you why I like it.
Yeah,
I just do.
Exactly.
So
that.
yeah.
All right.
But no, I agree with everything you've said about that. Yeah. So are we moving?
MIA.